Hey everyone, this is Mike. The name of the channel is Pinware Games, and today we are going to begin our exploration of 1985 Under an Iron Sky from Thin Red Line Games. If you're not familiar with the game, it is a game based around the Third World War, which I've been on a bit of a Third World War kick. It's a very detailed, but I think fun look at the system. In any case, I have two of the three titles, and I have this one, and I hope to play it at the Compass Games Expo in the fall, because I don't have the table space for this game. I also have the Persian Gulf game, and hopefully soon I'll be able to add the Deadly Northern Lights. That's the Baltic and Northern Atlantic, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, all those good countries module as well. They're hard to find. You kind of have to act fast. They have limited and small print runs. But I played this yesterday for the first time, and I had a lot of fun. I think I got most of it right. The designer, his name is Fabrizio Vianello. Was nice enough to answer my questions. So let's get started. I would like to hopefully, play a full game playthrough on Vassal, but we'll see, because this is a big game. It's a detailed game, and I think normally I can play two-player games, solitaire, no problem. One, because I'm stupid, and two, because I forget a lot of my things as I'm doing it, so I'm easily surprised as well. But I think this game definitely loses a little bit of the magic when you try to play by yourself. And that's not a knock on the game, it's just... Let me rephrase. I don't want to say that playing by yourself lessens the experience, but I can tell how playing it at pose would enhance the experience, because a lot of it is hidden information. You don't know what planes your opponent is sending up at you. You don't know where they're going to commit them. There's limited information about what you can look at in a stack, so there's a lot of stuff you don't know. Okay. So since I'm playing this on Vassal, my rule of thumb is that if there's information in the module that's not in the module that you need to play the game, I won't be sharing that here, just because, the designers, they don't have to post these modules. They do. It's a great benefit to those that do. And I want to encourage everyone to support the official release. So, I'm not going to go ahead and explain all the combat modifiers. You're just going to have to kind of trust me on that. So, that being said, I think we can give a pretty good picture of how the system works. Okay. So let's get started. So here's the situation. It is day one of World War III, and our little frontage here is tasked with annihilating the Berlin garrison. The French, British, and American units are tasked with defending it. Now, we want to eliminate them as quickly as possible. We're not going to give NATO a nice propaganda story about, the garrison that held out, against all odds. So, we're going to take and destroy it. Now, the scenario setup says that there is turn 0 movement, but I'm just going to leave everything as is. And on turn 1 movement, our allies and NATO are considered to have already expended 10 movement points, which may or may not be important. All right. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. Let's just take a look at what's on the screen. So we have our 3 garrison units. These are brigade units, and you can stack up to 3 brigades in a single hex. So they're going to be all right there. I think there's a rule about nationalities stacking together, but I couldn't find it. But it says in the scenario book specifically that the French garrison can stack with other nationalities. So we have that as well. We have an armor unit here, which we can break down. We have an armor unit here, which we can break down. This is a brigade-sized mechanized unit. We can't break that down. We have an HQ here, and the HQ is important for tracing supply. I think it mostly exists to exist in this scenario. We don't have to interact with it much. We have the ECMs too, which again, we probably won't get a chance to use because ECM has no effect in urban and city hexes, which is where most of this scenario takes place. We have some East Germans with flak. Again, we have a ton of flak units, but there is no NATO air power, so we don't have to worry about that. We have a couple of helicopters that are really nice, 9 strike value. We have another mech that we can potentially break down on the other side of West Berlin here. And then here we have 2 artillery units that are within range of the French garrison only. And then down here in the south, we have another armored unit that is stacked with an artillery piece. Now the last thing I want to show you before we kick it off is just take a quick look at the airfields. And there's nothing for NATO. No air power. Really, this is an exercise in ground combat. There's not much for NATO to do, except decide whether to retreat or not. And then the other thing that we have is we have our Warsaw Pact airfields. And just to take a look at that, in Hex C4704, which is Nerin, which is this hex here. We have 2 bombers and a fighter, I guess you could call it. And then we also have in 5612, which is on the other side of Berlin, over here, this airfield, we have an East German bomber. They're fairly poor. Now, their strike values are not great. They're a lot less than the helicopters, which have 9 strike values. But the rule that I played wrong was flak. I misunderstood that these units do have embedded flak, and since they are in general supply for the first turn, they can fire them. Now, I made a mistake, and I was using my Sacred Oil rules, and in Sacred Oil, a unit gets a fuel marker when it's involved in a combat. So I thought by attacking once, we could put a fuel marker on, and then it's out of supply, and then in any case, that's not how it works. So what I might do, depending on the breaks, is I might send some of these bombers on suppression missions to suppress the flak, but the only really good flak unit is, well, I don't want to say good. The 2 are Ds here, which means we're really only looking at a damage result, and the Americans actually have a chance of dealing out destruction. We shall see. Okay. With all that being said, let's get started. So I'm just going to get out a couple of things here. So on the modifiers, we're going to want to keep track of movement points. And we're going to want to keep track of NATO DRM and Warsaw Pact DRM. Okay. I'm going to try explaining it in a way that avoids giving a sense of what actually is going on, but I do still need to use it for my own reference. Okay. So just looking at our sequence of play, and the rule book is really nice. It's really, I think, clear. Someone did make a revision to the rulebook, however. I forget the user's name. I meant to write it down before I started making this video. That puts the rulebook in sequence of play order. I saw that on Board Game Geek, and that was really helpful too. So I have that, and I have the rules as written. So here's the thing. We'll just pull out this, and basically we skip mobilization, we skip unrest, I'm not playing with weather, we skip external events, we skip WMD release phase, we skip SSM since we have no chems, and we have no SSM units. We have no air superiority markers, that's determined by scenario. We have no nukes, so we go all the way to the Warsaw Pact action phase. We have no reinforcements, we have no replacements, we have no special forces, so we go straight to land movement. Okay? Now there's a couple of different ways that you can attack. And the first attack I'm going to do, and it's called a single echelon assault. Now that is something that only the Warsaw Pact can do. And basically, it's a bit of a risk, but it modifies your combat values. So right here, I have a 17. Okay? And attacking the American garrison will cost me 6 movement points. So let's move myself up to 6 here. Okay, so single echelon, we multiply our factors by 1.5. So we have our little cheat sheet here. So 17 times 1.5 is 25.5. They have 3 combat factors. So we're looking at base odds of 8.5. In this game, you round down. So we're on the 7-to-1 column. Now, we have, and I'm just going to read for the first one, just as a reference for myself, but if anyone's using this as kind of a tutorial. Ground combat sequence. We've identified our attacking unit. Okay. We've identified the type of combat. We have no missiles to deliver chems with. Now we determine supply status. So we're using generic supply rules, so we're in general supply. Same for the defender. Neither side can use EWs because it is in a city hex. Okay. NATO can declare active defense, however, it doesn't meet the requirements. I won't go into the requirements. Defending player commits air mobile battalions. Again, don't have those, so we'll move right along. Attacking player commits artillery support. Don't have any artillery in range. And resolve CAD missions, that's the SAM suppression missions, and ground support missions. Okay? So ground support lets an air or helicopter unit lend its strike value to the combat. Okay? So, for our first combat here, I am going to we are going to fly a flak suppression mission. I don't know that I actually need to do this in order to win the combat, but it's going to be good practice. So, there's a whole bit about, the Warsaw Pact picks their strike units and their escorts, and NATO puts their strike or their they get an intercept attempt. I think that's how it works. NATO has no air units, so we can basically go straight to flak. So let's see. We are going to form a group consisting of this MiG, the MiG-23. I'll put it right on top of the hex here. And one of these Su-17 bombers. So we have 2 bombers, and they're coming in for flak suppression. Now, embedded flak with C or D ratings, which are these two, have a 1 hex range when firing at enemy air squadrons and use no flak ammunition. This is the point that I was confused on, as long as the unit is in general supply. So, both the UK garrison and the Americans are going to get a shot here. So, let's start with the UK first. So, pull out your chart, go to the flak fire table, and there's a column A plus A, B, C, and D. We're starting with the D. I guess NATO, I guess, I don't know that it matters. So our average evasion value, so we look at our planes, our evasion value is the middle number. So 6 and 5 is 11, divided by 2 is 5.5, you round down. So our average evasion value is 5, which gives us a modifier, a friendly modifier on the roll here. So first the UK garrison, and that's a swing and a miss. No flak damage, and then the UK, or the United States, on the C column. Now that one does damage a single step. So if we look at damage, basically we place a damage marker on the unit. Okay. You place a damage marker under a unit. And my understanding is that it doesn't modify the values. But if you receive a second damage marker, then it can't fly any missions until it's repaired. But since the size and scope of the scenario, these 2 units are basically done for the turn. So then we'll send it back to the airbase that it came from. Now, the rules as written kind of permit changing air bases, but really what you should be doing is you should be doing it with an air ferry mission. You wouldn't typically fly a unit out to an air mission and then have it land somewhere else. But the rules don't seem to expressly prohibit it. But in any case, the size and scope of the scenario don't matter. Okay, so we have our strike package. One step was damaged, so it's not the end of the world. So we have, now we roll on the CAD table, and you combine your total strike package value, which in this case is 5. Okay, so now we roll. And after all of that, we have no effect. So our helicopters, if we choose to commit them, are going to have to get it done on their own. And we will commit a single helicopter. We want to get this combat started off on the right foot. So normal flight costs 1 movement point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and if we move into one of these, it'll get a shot at it. We're going to use something called Nap of the Earth flight, which basically, I like to think of it as, if you remember the scene in Dr. Strangelove where Turgensen is describing how the bombers are flying close to the ground, and he gets really excited because he's really proud, and then he realizes that what he's talking about is the annihilation of the human race. He kind of has like this wave of clarity wash over him. In any case, we're flying real low, okay, and this will limit the radius to in the same hex. So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. Now they're going to get a shot on the flak table as well. And this is a bit of a risk, but I think it's one that'll be worth it. So our evasion value here is 6. All right, so we have a 12. And that is a damage step, which I think does give NATO a victory point. Let's just check. So they don't track damage, so it's converted to a step loss, unfortunately, which means this unit will only be able to contribute 5. Okay. But in any case, sorry about that. We have 30.5 divided by 3, so now we have a 10 to 1. Max is still 7 to 1, so the rest will get converted. So let me work up the modifiers here. Okay. This is going to be resolved as a -1. Or excuse me, a +1. So here we go. That is a 9, so we get a D result. So the defender must lose 1 step or retreat. Now, we're not looking to give away any steps just yet, so what we're going to do is we're going to retreat. Let me fly this helicopter back, and we'll send it right back to where it originated from. I think helicopter basing is a little different. I think you can send it basically to anywhere, as opposed to an airfield. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so since it retreated, we are going to place a no-zoc marker on the unit, which is going to give a friendly modifier. And then we also place a breakthrough zone here. And we advance. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to attack again. Now, what we're going to do is we're looking at a very similar combat. Actually, before we do, we have to test their cadre rating. To see how they do. Okay, so we're going to roll for the US. The US maintains its original rating. And then we'll roll for the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union maintains its original rating. Okay. So now we're going to move up to 12 points. And this combat is going to be very similar in terms of odds. The only thing is changing is that now that there's a no-zoc marker, we can kind of recalculate a little bit for that. And now the question becomes, do I want to send another helicopter out? And now that I have, really all of them grouped together, I don't know if I'm ready to send a helicopter out. So, we're at 8-1. But we are now within range of the artillery here. So what I will do is we're going to cycle ammo. And I personally like the physical counters as opposed to the vassal optimized ones. But so we're going to use 2 of our artillery units. So now we're at 32.5, which is 10-1. So let me just rerun the odds here. So now we're rolling on the -1 as opposed to the +1. Okay, and we get another D result, which is absolutely what we're looking for. Now, we can retreat again, and we will. Which will put us stacked with the French unit here. And we're going to place another breakthrough zone below. Now, the breakthrough zone is important because it limits where you can retreat through. However, since these are city/urban hexes, the effects are somewhat limited. Let me explain this. Breakthrough zones do not extend into or out of city hexes. So only in the situation where they would have to retreat into a breakthrough zone would that apply. Oh, and the other thing is, since that US unit has a no-zoc marker, we have to roll dice to see if it loses a step. So on a 1 to 8, it loses a step, and it doesn't. Now we'll roll again for cadre, so first the US. And this time the US will change to a 5, and for the Soviets as well. The Soviets will also as well become a 5 here. So now we have a 12. We have 12 movement points. So now the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to change our target from the US and Berlin in French. We're going to target the Brits here. So now we're moving up to 18 points because remember, every single echelon attack does cost 6 movement points. So I'm going to reset the odds here. And this one I'm going to have to double check since now we're attacking over a bridged hex side. Alright, so let me just run through the odds here. Excuse me, the modifiers. The combat ratio here is 11 to 1. Or 10 to 1. So what we might want to do is we're going to be looking at rolling on the +3, which means to get, we only have a 50% shot. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We are going to roll out our last 2 units here. Because if both of these get through, that's going to be a +5. Which is going to put us at 27. And that's going to put us at 13 to 1. So they are going to be in the line of fire here. Let me just make sure I'm going to do this right. All right, so first the Berlin UK garrison here. Miss. The French garrison. That is also a miss. And the American garrison. That is a single damage step, which is enough for us to let these get through. And now you can have these repaired out in the game, so that is definitely a process you can go through. Okay, let me just redo the modifiers, since now we're looking at 27.5 divided by 2. Okay. That's going to make us basically even. These RTB. Okay. And we get another D result here, which is exactly what we were looking for. Okay, so let's put our no-zoc marker on this. And we have 2 hexes that we can retreat to. We can retreat to here, or we can retreat to here. I definitely want to say that I think there's some stacking restriction. Like, I think either of those, the US unit or the UK unit, could stack with the French unit. But I don't believe they could stack with each other based on that rule, but I can't find it. Anyway, so let's do that. Now, what we could do is we could, we can keep pushing our luck here. Now, if we go up to 24, we'll have to roll for fatigue. So let's do that. Let's keep pushing our luck. And I don't know if that's good or not. Nope. Our fatigue does not increase. Now, let's look at combat here again. Okay, I'm going to redo NATO modifiers. We have to roll to check their cadre rating, and it flips as well. There we go. So they have 9 combat modifiers, and the Warsaw Pact has 11. So now we're rolling on the +2, or -2, I should say. So we have a very excellent shot at getting another D result here. And we do. So now they're going to retreat again to here, but now they are out of places to retreat to. This is a Zoc. This is a Zoc. This is a breakthrough zone, so they can't retreat into there. So what do you think? we risk it again? Deal out a single step loss? What the hell? Why not? Actually, that would take us to 30, so we don't have to roll again for fatigue. So we can set up for basically the same attack. And again, we get another D result here. So now we start taking step losses. Okay. Alright, so that is going to finish off that unit. We're not going to move that unit anymore. So instead, we're going to activate a new unit here. We're going to activate these two units down here. And we're just going to go 1, or we're in tactical, so that's 2. Actually, we're moving along a railroad. No effect, so 2, 4, 6, 7. And remember, Zocs do not extend into or out of city hexes, so. And then we're going to go 13 to attack. Okay. That's where we go. Okay. So again, we're doing the same idea where we're throwing our everything forward with our single echelon assault. Now we have an 18 value, which 1.5 times that is 27. We have the artillery, which is going to be 32. So we're looking at 32 to 2, or 16 to 1. So again, we have to resolve that on 7 to 1. So that's going to give the Warsaw Pact a ton of modifiers. And then not nearly as many for a garrison unit. We're looking at -5 attack. Means don't roll a 20. That's another step loss there. And then we'll run it up to 19 points. And now if we're going to roll to see if this unit progresses. You just cadre rating, and it does. In this case, it represents an improvement. So now we have a ton of modifiers. So well, let me just say that at this point it's automatic. So did I move us up? We started here 2, 4, 6, 7, 13, 19. Yes, I did. So this is automatic. So we're going to send him to the right here. Okay. So we have 2 units left and 2 units left to activate for movement. Now, here's what we will do. Take a look at the map. this is an urban hex. So we will have Zocs coming out of it. So if we go here, now we have breakthrough zones here and here, a unit blocking here, and we have Zocs into both of these hexes. So if we are able to cause a retreat result, they have nowhere to go. And they must take step losses. Here we go. So we have, and this will be a little bit of a tough fight here. We have our French garrison, who are fresh, and let's see if they can channel the spirit of the Emperor. Okay. All right, so let's do our modifiers. And then, oh, I should, we're there. Okay, and then Warsaw Pact, 27 to 5. It's going to be 5 to 1. And we've got all right, let's see. -2 on the 5 to 1, or +2 on the 5 to 1. Oh, I forgot. We'll use these since these are now in range again. So we have 37 to 5. That's much better. So now we're up to 7 to 1, +2 on the 7 to 1. We have a decent chance. Well, let's see. This was 46, 5. We're going to throw in our helicopters. And I think that they go one at a time, I think. To the combat hex. I don't think you move them together. But let me see if I can just determine. Okay. I don't know that it even matters. Yeah, I don't think it does. Right. We're going to fly both of them. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So that's both of them there. So let's do the top helicopter first. First we'll fire with the French. No. And then we'll fire with the Americans. Yes. And then we'll do the next helicopter, so the French first. And then the Americans. Yes. The Americans definitely put up a tough fight. I think they dealt out 4 damage results, 4 or 5. 3 step losses on the helicopters. It's definitely not great. Okay, so we have 27 plus 20 for the 10 for the helicopters and 10 for the artillery. So we have 47, and divided by 5 is 9. Well, 47 divided by 5 is 9 and a remainder. So we are looking at a 0, I think. Make sure. Yes. All right, here goes. That's not good. So that's 2 step losses to us. The Warsaw Pact. All right, and let's do unit ratings for the French. So their unit rating increases, and the Soviets, their unit rating increases as well. Gee. Well, I wanted to kind of have this ended now, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. All right. Here's what we're going to do. All right. Okay, I'm really sorry. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to end our turn here. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot when I was pushing this UK unit around, I forgot to roll to assign it a step loss. So that's my fault. Okay. I'm back. Sorry for the edit there. What we're going to do is we're going to end our movement here. So we go to the removal phases. So basically, we remove Nozok markers. We remove the breakthrough markers. Our ammo is now good. And we are back to sequence of play, and it is the NATO action play. And basically, they're going to go right to land movement. At this point, they are going to be out of supply, so they're going to get fuel markers placed on them. Now, for the purposes of this gameplay, it's not ultimately going to matter, because they still those are fuel 2s. This should be fuel 1. Now, basically, they are out of supply. Well, they're not out of supply, but they're not in general supply. Which is confusing. And I hope that I'm doing that right. Alright, so there's not much that we can do as NATO here. We just kind of have to hope against hope here. So we are going to go into hedgehog mode. We'll place our hedgehog markers. And basically, let's prepare our eligible damaged air units, which is basically going to be for the Soviets only. So each airfield can repair one step. Okay, so these are ready to fly again. So then I guess the biggest thing is going to be whether or not these units are going to have black. Right. So during turn 2, no Warsaw Pact unit can expend more than 20 movement points. Alright, so alright, we are back to this situation. If we go through the sequence of play, we're basically going to be back to Warsaw Pact land movement. Let's go with this one here. $27.32. Oh, do that. All right, 27.32.42 to 5 is going to be an 8-1. Okay. And we are going to make this our kitchen sink attack. So, all right. So So the French unit first. No, and then the American unit. No. So that's going to push us up another 2. And then let's try our helicopters. 5, 10, and 15. All right, so first helicopter, we'll roll French first. Be French are D-rated. Narrowly avoid disaster there. And then the Americans. All right, so 1 makes it through. Next one, French. And the Americans. 2 makes it through. And then the third one, the French. Ooh. That's a destroyed helicopter. Set it over there for now. Actually, we'll send it to the graveyard. Okay. So all that to bring you a 7-1 on the +1. Need a low roll here. And that's not it. That's a C. Attacker must stop. And actually, we do deal out a step loss here because of the single echelon attack. Where are you? Okay. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and then 9. This is going to be tough to crack. Since we have no more air, we might not be able to do it. 17 times 1.5 would be 25 and a half. We do 15. 40, that's 8 to 1. So 1, 5 is 6. All right. Let me just check something real quick here. All right. I don't have a better way to do it, I think. Alright. Let's just roll the die, see if we can. Alright, so 5 to 1. This is like a +5. Here we go. Oh, baby. There we go. There we go. So we got a D result, remarkably, which means that we are going to deal out did I do that right? Oh, please tell me I did that right. Didn't know. How embarrassing. So what is a 4 on the -6? Oh, wait. On the 6? Oh, okay, yep. It was close. We still got it. All right. We still got it. We came up with a clutch die roll. So what's going to happen is each of those units must take a step loss. We'll place a no-zoc marker. Okay. And now, here's what's going to happen. The modifiers are going to change. We're going to get 2 more for the no-zoc, and then 2 more for the casualties. So then we are on this 7 to 1 with a -2. Let me just think about this really quickly. So if we do nothing, we will have received 25, 37, 40 victory points. Not enough to win. All right, so here we go. We're going to run the same attack again. I'm using all 3 artillery again, which means they will have no ammo left. There we go. We need another low roll. That's not going to do it. Yeah. Tough, tough, tough. But unfortunately, that is the way that it breaks down. Let me think. I guess for all intents and purposes, this scenario is done. Can't use the helicopters again. Can't use the aircraft again. We can try an attack here, but I don't think. Let's see. Let's see what the odds would look like for us. Yeah, we'd be looking at 4, 6, 7, 8. Then it's going to be on the 4-to-1. -3 on the 4-to-1, or +3 on the 4-to-1. Need a 1 through 5. Here we go. See if they improve their cadre rating. They don't. Let's roll the same attack again. Alright. So I'm going to call it right here. NATO holds on to a single hex in West Berlin. I think the Soviets end up getting like 40 victory points, but NATO dealt out a ton of step losses, so it's a NATO substantial victory. Thanks for sticking around and watching this one. I hope you were able to learn a little something, and this provided some entertainment. I definitely enjoyed it, even if, man, it did seem like the Soviets were cruising until they hit a brick wall, or a flak wall, however you want to look at it. Alright, this is Mike, and we'll see you around.